Hello and welcome back to the Side by Side Footy Show, where today I will be covering my Round 6 AFL tips and predictions. Now last week, 6 out of 9, Round 5, not too bad in the end. A couple of hit and misses on their 50-50 games. But we move on, currently sitting on 31 points, which is just slightly above the average. But we look forward now into Round 6. A lot of good rivalry games, a lot of exciting games to come up. We'll get straight into it, starting us off with the Thursday night game, a big game, the old rivals, the Blues against the Magpies. I always look forward to this game. We'll be at the game as well. I'm expecting even I've tipped us to win by 7, but I can see this game really going either way. The problem for us right now is that offensively, defensively we look fine, but offensively we've not quite hit our stride yet. We're missing chances. Last week against Freo, we dominated that game in terms of the ground and possession and everything. It's just we weren't able to kick the goals where it mattered. And the Blues right now, they did lose last week against the Crows, but they genuinely look pretty good. Played for most of the game, played pretty well. Didn't see the same sort of stuff that we've seen of them in the last few weeks. So they've hit their stride at a good time, and they're coming up against us at a good time where we're not quite clicking forward of the ball. So this game will come down to who's more efficient up forward, right? The Blues, we know they like to start well and get a lot of goals early. So it's about our ability to defensively hold them off, but also be able to counteract them offensively and try to get goals. So I think it'll be close. I've got us by 7 points in the end. The Pies winning this one by 7, but I could really see it going either way. I think Carlton will play this like it is their grand final. If they've got nothing else to play for, beating the Pies would be pretty sweet for them. So they'll give it everything, I'm sure of it. I think it'll be a great game to watch on the Thursday night. But that's it. That's my tip for that game. Moving on to Friday night, we've got 2 games. First off, starting us off will be Geelong against Western Bulldogs at GMHBA. This one is another one that I can see it going either way. I was thinking the Dogs, but if English is out and if Richards, who's looking likely, he's going to be out as well, and without Libba in there as well, I think to not have those kind of players will be the key difference. And I think the Cats, they just find ways to win these kind of big games, don't they? They lost against the Hawks by a point in a fashion that would hurt them, but they'd want to bounce back. They beat the Eagles last week pretty convincingly, but I think this is a game where the Cats just have to find a way to win. Pure and simple. I think they're just such a quality side, classy side, that in the kind of games where you'd expect them to lose, they'll pull it out of the bag. And I think the Dogs right now, they do have a tough run. I mean, next week, the following week, they've got Sydney and then they've got Freo. So 2 teams. And I think that the thing with the Dogs is, against teams that play a very defensive zone system, they do struggle to get the goals. Whereas against the likes of Geelong, who it does play a zone, but it's more of a midfield zone. A lot similar to how the Dogs play, actually. But I just think on paper, Geelong have more quality. Yes, the midfield of the Dogs is stacked, but no Libba, no Richards, and if Tim English is not back for this game, I think that's just going to hurt him in the end too much. But I think it'll be close. Could go either way. I'm going to back in the Cats by 5 points in the end. Moving on to the second Friday night game. No idea why there's 2. But anyway, we've got the Swans against the Giants. This one's at the SCG. I think, look, I'm expecting the Swans to win. I've got them down by 17 points, but I think the Giants will be up for this one. I think they always like to rock up for these kind of games. Having said that, they're still got they're carrying a lot of injuries. They did get a few players back last week, and they might get more this week, but I just think right now Sydney are in very, very good form, and dropping this kind of game would really, really hurt them. So I've got the Swans winning by 17 in the end. I think it'll be closer than people think. I think the Giants will play this one pretty fiercely. I think they're kind of in the zone now where if they keep losing these kind of games, they're going to risk dropping out of the top 8 or top 10 or whatever it might be. And I just think they have to show a bit of something. But in the end, the Swans, based on class, based on, not having as much injuries, really, they'll get it done. And I think they'll get it done against the Giants by 17. Moving on to the Saturday game, starting us off is the Gold Coast Suns against the Essendon Bombers. This will be at People First, so it is up in Gold Coast, and really there's not too much to say about this one. I think the Suns will get it done by 35. Essendon, they do play a defensive zone, a more passive sort of approach to the game, which the Suns really just, they'll be able to handle that. I mean, Melbourne showed us the way to beat the Suns is to beat them in the middle, put pressure on them, and fiercely attack the ball. And the Bombers just don't do that. That's not really their style. So the Suns will win this one pretty comfortably, 35 points. I think Bombers will put up a bit of a fight off the back of that win last week. They'll be up for it, but I think in the end, the quality of the Suns will be too much. The Suns losing 2 games in a row as well. They'll want to bounce back. They'll want to get to win, and I think they'll get it done pretty comfortably by 35. Next up, we've got the Hawks against Port. Now, this one used to have a bit of something in it between the Guinea and Hinkley and stuff like that, but I think this one, Port just don't look like quite the team that they've been over the last few years. They've got a lot of work to do, and the Hawks right now looking very, very solid, getting it done against the Dogs last week. Really, really impressive. Thought that I did put them down to finish first on the ladder in my ladder predictor. Feel free to check that out. But I think they'll get it done in the end. The Hawks will win by 42 points. I think they'll just have a solid outing. I don't think they're going to go too hard. They know they're pretty comfortable to win this one, especially considering it's at Marvel Stadium of all places. I didn't know the Hawks play there really. But Hawks will win in the end. Pretty convincing. Kind of a pass-through game. Get it done. Don't get any injuries and move on. So I've got the Hawks by 42. And finally, for the Saturday, we've got the Crows against the Saints at Adelaide Oval. I've got the Crows winning by 31 points. I think they'll win pretty convincingly in the end. The Saints showed a bit of something last week, but that second half was a disaster from them, and a lot of people complained about the umpiring in that game being very, very one way. I can't see them getting it done over the Crows, though. I think the Crows in the contest are just too strong, and they're very, very efficient in attack. The Saints might have their run at the game, but I think once they sort of drop their levels a bit, which they tend to do, the Crows are just going to get on top of them and win pretty convincingly in the end. So I've got the Crows by 31 in that one. And then on to the Sunday. First up, we've got North against the Tigers. This one, in yesteryears, this would have been a wooden spoon sort of game where whoever wins or loses might be finishing on bottom. But I think North have to win, and they have to win relatively convincingly. I've got them down by 26 points over the Tigers. I think in the end, the Tigers might challenge, and they'll be up for it. I think this is the kind of game where the Tigers will think, you know what, we can get it done. They do play a pressure system, the Tigers. Their only issue is their execution and efficiency, right? They don't always make their chances count, and sometimes they turn it over in horrible positions. But I think in the end, North are showing a bit of class this season, a step up on previous seasons, and I don't see them really losing this one. It might be a bit closer, but in the end, I've got North winning by 26 points. Next up, we've got Melbourne Demons against the Lions. This one's at the MCG, which makes it a bit interesting. I do have the Lions winning by 19 points, as you can see, but I just think that this is the kind of game where, based on how Melbourne play and their sort of pressure game, and they've got Gawn in the middle as well, if they can, because the Lions count on the forward half game, right? Their ability to win it in the middle is second to none, right? They're the best in it, and there's a reason why they're back-to-back premiers because of it. But having said that, the D's did show against the Suns how to beat that, right? If they've got Gawn in there, Gawn with the new ruck rules is an absolute advantage. So having said all that, I can see Melbourne really challenging, right? This could be a 1-goal game, but I think in the end, the Lions, their quality on the ball, and they can't really be losing this kind of game. I can see it happening. I can definitely still see it happening, but I just think the Lions in the end will win it out. I think it'll be close for the most of the game, with like a 2-goal margin, for most of it. And then the Lions will just finish them off right at the end with a couple of extra goals to bring the lead out to 19 points or more. Something like that. So the Lions will get this one done. And finally, we've got the Derby at the Perth Derby between the Eagles and the Dockers. I think the Dockers will just get it done in this one. I think the Eagles will be up for it, and they'll challenge early, much like they did against the Cats last week, where they looked pretty good in the first half, but unfortunately won't be able to keep up the levels against such a quality side on the ball in Fremantle. And I think Freo will just get it done pretty comfortably, getting it done by 38 points over the Eagles. And that is it. That is my tips and predictions for round 6 of the AFL 2026 season. Hope you enjoyed. Looking forward to the week. Hopefully the Pies will bounce back against the Blues, but we'll see. It's a lot of good games, a lot to look forward to. Thank you so much for watching. God bless. Have a good one. Take care.